Hello, my name is Duff, and today we'll be going over encrypted equations. Encrypted equations it's another math module, and this time you won't be able to recognize any of the numbers.
In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed.
So, whenever you have an encrypted equations module, there's always going to be three symbols, and then a quote-unquote letter inside of the shape. I say quote because sometimes like some of the letters it's just equal signs, some of them are slashes. It's whatever. But let's actually go on to diffusing it. So each shape has an initial value to it. So we have a circle, a star, and a diamond. So we look at the first part of the manual, section 1, which is shapes. So we find the shape and then we just write down its corresponding value. I think my cat had a stroke, but it's fine. So we had a circle, a star, and a diamond. So those are initially values of 6, 50, and 35. Now then, we move to the second part of the manual, basically saying the letters. Now, each letter will alter the shape's initial value by either adding, subtracting, dividing, or multiplying that value. So we have the letters of equals, south, and slash. For equals, we're going to add 4 to that value. So we're going to add 4 to the 10, to the 6 to give us 10. For south, we're going to divide our value by 1.5. And 50 divided by 1.5 is going to be 33.333. Note here how it says round to the nearest thousandth after calculating. And in case you don't know, the thousandth is the third decimal spot. So this would be the 10th, then the 100th, then the 1000th. And then if you want to go further, it's 10,000, 100,000, but that doesn't matter, not for this tutorial. Okay. And slash, a forward slash that is, because there's also a backward slash, is going to multiply our initial value by 4. So 35 times 4 gives us 140. Now we're going to have surrounding symbols. As it states here, a symbol may surround the shape, meaning it's not guaranteed. This is not good. Okay. So you have initial shapes over here, so like dots, empty dots, horizontal lines, and vertical lines, and for they basically rotate around the initial shape. So the dot doesn't really matter about it, but let me find. Is there an example in here with that? This, for instance. So as you can see, there is a vertical bar here. But if we were to rotate it back to north, where it's supposed to be, it would be horizontal down here, vertical here, but horizontal up here, meaning that this is actually a horizontal line. But that's not the case for this example. For this example, they're all just dots. Now, like the letters, the dots also alter the values of each symbol. So we have a filled dot to the east of the circle. Now, to the east of the circle, that's going to give us a value of negative. That's going to subtract 2 from our value to give us an 8. And in case you have any conflictions on where the dot is, like what shape it belongs to, it's the one that's closest to. So in this case, it's closest to here than it is to here, because the radius is sort of split by the operator, and the operator's in smack middle between the two letters. Okay. For the second symbol, we have an empty dot that is south, and since it's south, we're going to divide our value of our middle value, which is 33.333, by 2. And that gives us a new value of 16.6665. And again, we round up to the nearest thousand. Yep, okay. So, rounding that up, that gives us 16.667, and we move on. So we have the final symbol here of a dot that is to the west of the shape. To the west, it's going to add 3, so we have 143 now. Now we have to deal with operators. With the operators, they're going to come in different shapes and also different positions, mainly these ones. So for this example, well, for this case, we have what seems to be a standard Juliet. And a standard Juliet is a minus in this case. So as you can see, this symbol over here corresponds to this one over here. So this operator is a subtraction. Well, yeah, it's a minus sign. And this operator over here, oops. See, it's 2 horizontal bars and a vertical bar. So it's this one. So this symbol is going to be a division symbol. Okay. The second to last thing we have is parentheses. And parentheses is going to surround either one of the 2 sides. Yeah. And they come in different sizes. Well, not different sizes, different shapes rather. So as you can see, we have this one right here. You could have an actual parentheses, you could have a reverse parentheses, etc., etc., who cares. The thing that is special about these, however, is based on their shape, they could either apply to the 2 symbols it's around, so in this case, talking about these 2 symbols, or it could be talking about the other 2 symbols. So it could be talking about these 2 symbols. The middle symbol is always going to be applied first, but that's besides the case. So when it says opposite pair, that means we use the other 2 symbols instead of the first one within this pair. And since we do have an opposite pair, we're going to evaluate our middle and our third shape, third value, whatever. English is hard. Now, I said second to last thing, but for this example, this is the last thing, because there can be letters that are top right of each symbol. So if there's an I, top right of one of these, you multiply your final value after the final value of the symbol, not of the equation, by -1. So basically you just either put a negative there or you take away a negative. If you put, if there's an A top right of, if there's an A top right of a symbol, that means you're going to take the absolute value of it. So basically, if you have something -8, that -8 is going to be absolute value, so you're going to add 8. Let's see. If there is an S, then you're going to square that final value. So you'd square this, for example. And if there's a C, then you're going to cube it. And it even mentions here that this, that the symbols that you get from section 3 are the final value. except if something section 6 applies, which I don't know why they would, why Sam wouldn't just put the section 6 up here, but that's not really the point. Since there's no letters top right of any of these, we're going to just calculate this equation normally. So 16.667 divided by 143 is a really small number. So 16.667 divided by 143. I'm using a Google calculator just so I can see how many decimal digits it is, because my thing puts in scientific notation. My calculator. Okay, so the final result of this equation is this entire value. And again, we ran it to the thousand spot, so it's going to be 0.117. So now we have 8 minus 0.117. And if you're lazy like me, you can just plug this back into Google, and you get your final value of 7.883. And once you have your final value, you can just press any one of the keys, and then you press submit. If you type in something wrong, so like this for example, you can just press clear. And in the very rare instance that you have to divide by 0, for instance, or I guess that's the only case. Basically, where your answer comes up undefined, you just press submit. However, it's very unlikely.
Please, Stanley, think about what you're doing. No! Why did you do that? No! How could you do that? Stanley, think about what you're doing.
Yeah, case in point. And it does not reset on a strike.
No! Why did you do that?
But anyways, let's do a second example. This is a good one. So, I guess I can keep that open. And I'll refresh the entire page. So our initial shape is an octagon, a square, and a circle. Oops. So an octagon is 5. A square is a 1, and a circle is a 6. Note that there is both a circle and an oval, so make sure your diffuser knows what long the circle is. Okay, so we have equation equals, and then f. The equals symbol is going to add 4 to our value, so this becomes 9, this becomes 5, and f is going to divide our value by 2. So this becomes 3. The shape surrounding the symbol, so for the first value, there's going to be a filled dot to the east of it, and a filled dot to the east, we're going to subtract 2 from the value. This one does not have any symbols around it, so we skip this one. And this one has an empty circle north of it. And an empty circle is going to be adding 4 to give us a 7. Note that these have both an A and an S. Well, this has an A here and this has an S here. So, this is already 7, so we just ignore that, the absolute value. And since this is an S, we're going to square root this. So 5 squared is going to be 25. Now let's go to the operators. Let's see. So our first symbol is going to be a T with the nub to the right. And a T with the nub to the right is going to be, I think that's a plus. Yeah, that's a plus. So our first operator is going to be a plus. This is just a big circle. So it'll be this. So our second operator is going to be a division. Okay. Can I just alt tab correctly? Thank you. Okay. And our parentheses is going to be these two brackets in the bottom side, and that means it's going to be the current pair. So that means we do this part first, and then we do the second. Basically, we do the operator between the second and third first, and then the operator between the result of that and the first one. So 25 divided by 7 is going to be 3.571 rounding to the nearest thousandth. That is 3.571. Now we add these two together, that is going to be 10.571, and like before, we just enter that. And that is encrypted equations. I hope you learned that. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and get a job.